Observe carefully. Here we are using select SQL query. So, okay, maybe I may go for like what SQL query there, insert SQL query with execute update method. With execute update method, insert SQL query, maybe update, delete, whatever it may be. All the SQL queries can be executed. Now tell me, through these SQL queries, the data will be stored into the database or not? Come on, or not? Now database is what there? Database is temporary storage or permanent storage? Database is what, guys? Database is a that is permanent storage area. So here, data persistence is achieved. So here data persistence is achieved. So in JDBC, we are able to represent data in databases, that is permanent storage area. So here data persistence is achieved. This is one thing. And one more internal point I'm telling to you guys, now try to understand this clearly. In JDBC, listen all of you know. In JDBC, when we establish a connection is having a mode, a predefined mode, a default mode is available for connection. What is the default mode for connection actually? That is what there, auto commit mode. There is a default mode for connection. What is the default mode here? That is what there, auto commit mode. Understand guys? Everybody, understand my point now. What's the meaning of this auto commit mode, guys? What's the meaning of this auto commit mode? Auto commit mode main intention is what there? Store the data, represent the data into the database permanently. Connection will give information to the database engine. When an SQL query you executed there, whatever the results you are getting, because of this auto commit mode, automatically the data is going to be stored into the database permanently. So through this one, we are able to achieve data persistency in JDBC. In JDBC, and we establish connection database automatically. Now what is this auto commit mode actually? Here auto commit mode will make the database engine to execute SQL query and to represent results in a database permanently. Right, sir. To represent data permanently. No need to give commit operation there. No, not required here. Automatically, connection will do that commit operation. That is nothing but what there? Auto commit. Automatically, the data will be stored into the database permanently. The data will be represented in the database permanently. Whatever the operations will be performed in the database, no, that operations results will be permanent. This is the default nature of the connection in JDBC. Okay. Right, sir. This is exactly the meaning of like what there data persistency in JDBC, how we are able to achieve this. Right, sir. Then after that, we have discussed about some drawbacks with the JDBC, boilerplate code, then completely repeatable code. A repeatable code, hard-coded SQL queries. Every time we have to write SQL queries explicitly. External concatenation is required. External concatenation is required on connection management and statement management and so on. Database dependent. Transaction support is not good. Next one is only checked exceptions. Okay, not unchecked exceptions. Checked exceptions only we are getting there. Like this, so many problems are available. So many drawbacks are available with this. So to overcome all these problems there, we need to go for like what there? Some other. What is the alternative here? We have to go there now. ORM tools here we are going to use. And I guess now here we need to talk about like what there? ORM tools here we have to use. First of all, here we have to understand requirement of the ORM, requirement of ORM, that we have to understand. What is the requirement of ORM that we have to understand, guys? I'll give one example to all of you. Now try to understand it. Guys, all of you are having awareness on web applications, right? Please let me give you, please, all of you, get some response to me. All of you are having web applications, at least for Servlet application execution. Have we prepared any application with login page in Servlets? Just I'm asking Servlet application. All of you are having awareness on Servlets? A simple Servlet program. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to give a simple example. Try to understand this example, guys. All of you know. For example, here I have a registration form. Registration form is available. Here, what data is available here in the registration form now? Say, for example, student ID, student name, student marks, student address. Then here we are able to have like what there? Register. There is a button, register button. All of you observe carefully this diagram. No, I'm going to give clarity for what purpose we are moving to the ORM. Right, sir. This is my registration form. Can I say registration form.html? Guys, all of you know. Can I say registration form.html like this? Okay. Right. This is like what I'm telling to you, registration form.html. Okay, fine. Now at server side, we have a servlet. What is servlet actually? Registration servlet. What is it actually? Registration servlet. Okay. Here I have database. Table first of all. Table is available. What table is existed here? SID, SName, student marks, SADDR. Alright, so now this is table. This table is existed in database. Right, sir. Okay, fine. Let us understand the flow of execution of this application. Okay. Guys, I'm asking one question. Try to answer for it. All of you clear up to this point here? All of you clear up to this point now? Please respond for me. Nothing is there. One form I have taken, one servlet I have taken, a database I have taken, where inside the database we have used a student. Okay. Recform.html, registration servlet, then what next one gets student. Clear or not? Okay, fine. Now I'm going to provide some data. Now try to understand it. First, here I'm providing the data. Student ID is what there, S1. Student name is AAA. Student marks are like what there, 78. Student address is like what there, Hyderabad. Guys, all of you observe carefully. When I click on this register button, then automatically what happened there? Automatically, a request will come to the servlet or not? Come on, guys, you have to give answer for my question. A request will come to the servlet or not? Okay. When request is coming to the servlet now, inside the servlet, which method will be executed? Inside the servlet, which method will be executed? Come on, guys, which method will be executed inside the servlet now? Initially, service method. From the service method, you may go for do get or do post, depending on the servlet what we prepared. The service method you can understand. Okay, service or do get or do post, whatever it may be, do XXS method or service method, whatever it may be. Tell me, what are the parameters for service method? What are the parameters for service method? Do you have any parameters for service method? Two parameters are required. What are the two parameters now? Service or do XXX, whatever it may be. First one is request comma response. Two parameters are existed. Okay. What are the two parameters now? One is request and other one is what their response. Maybe servlet request or servlet response, or HTTP servlet request or HTTP servlet response. That doesn't matter. Anything here we are able to take. Okay. Now get required. Observe clearly, this is my request object. The object where, and this is my response object. Inside this request object, what data is existed here? 28. Student address is equal to as still to go for forum that I'm talking with you now. Okay, that form data will be stored inside this request object or not? Now here also be response object is available. That's okay. Later I will talk about it. Okay. Then what next one here after that? Whenever request and response objects are created, now gradually this do xxx method is executing. When a do xxx method is executed, when a do xxx method is executed, automatically this registration servlet will store the data into the database. As part of this registration, as part of the student registration, total the student data has to be stored into the database. What data is stored here? No? This one. Next one is like what there? AAA 78. Then last. What is last one here? No? Hyderabad. The data is stored here. Okay, data is stored. Then finally some process might be completed here. When this process is completed here, automatically some response will be generated. What is that response here now? Sign up is successful. Sign up is successful, or maybe we can understand registration is successful. Okay. Like this kind of response here we are expecting. Finally, that response might be available here. That response is coming here. Then here, successful information here we are able to provide. We are able to keep inside this response object. Registration success, something else here we are able to provide. Okay. Status here I'm going to provide here. Success. Finally here, what happened there? Some response will be generated over the respective browser. Registration success. Here we are getting some registration success part here. Okay. Guys, all of you clear up to this part here? All of you clear up to this part now? All right. Please recognize this. Now, I want to divide this total part in this total application flow in 3 parts. This is part 1. This is part 2. This is part 3. Observe carefully. In the first part, data is represented along with the HTML or not? Along with HTML tags or not? Please confirm to me. Data is represented along with your data is represented along with HTML tags or not? Data is represented with hypertext tags or not? Hypertext tags or not? Hypertext markup language tags. Okay. All right, sir. So the data model is a hypertext data model. The data is represented in a hypertext data model. So the data model is what there? Hypertext data model. This is one type of representation. Representing data along with the HTML tags. That is what there? Hypertext data model. Yes, clear to all of you guys? Nice. Let's come to the next point now. Second part, if we come there. In a second part, data is represented in the form of objects or not. This is Java program. This is Java program. Servlet is nothing but Java program. In Java program, data is represented in the form of what model data is represented in the form of objects or not? So this is object-oriented data model. The model for representing data is what there? Object-oriented data model. Nice. Next one. Coming to the third part. In the third part, data is represented in the form of tables or not? Data is represented in the form of tables or not? When a data is represented in the form of tables, then the data model is what there? Relational data model. Relational data model. Please, all of you respond for my questions, guys. All of you respond for my questions. In this application, data we provided there, same data is represented in how many models? No? Single data is represented in how many models overall in this total application? In 3 models, we represented this data. What are the 3 models where we represented this data? One is hypertext data model. Second one is object-oriented data model. The data is represented in objects. Here we can understand data is represented in objects. Data is represented in what? Object. That's why this is what object-oriented data model. Next one. In this model, here data is represented in tables, relations. Data is represented in relations. That's why here the data model is what there? Relational data model. Nice. Now let's come for this point here. When user has provided data here in HTML form, when you click on register button, automatically the data what we entered in the registration form will come to the servlet. The data will be stored inside the object-oriented data model or not? Guys, time to time response are required. When I enter the data, when I click on register, when request is coming to the registration servlet, automatically user provided data is available in hypertext model. The data is converted to object-oriented data model or not? So here data is converted from relation, means hypertext model to object-oriented model or not? Yes, is converted in this model or not? Data is converted from hypertext model to object-oriented data model or not? Right. Who is performing this conversion, guys? Have you done any such type of conversion? Did you perform any such type of conversion in our application? Have you done it? Have you done that conversion from hypertext model to data object-oriented data model? Have you converted that? No, we have not converted that. But who has converted that? Who has converted that? Okay, who has converted it? Must answer for this question here. Here, this conversion could be done by whom? This conversion could be done by whom? Who has converted this? Either application servers or containers. Either application servers or containers might be converting this total data. Who is converting the total data? No, either application servers or containers are converting this data. So where developer is not performing this type of conversion, automatically either application servers or containers have done this type of conversion. Anyway, it's an implicit. Now tell me, in this conversion, is there any requirement for developer to think more about this conversion? Is it required for developers to think more about this conversion? where developers interference is required or not required? Where developer is doing anything extra to convert that one? This is an inbuilt mechanism or not? That conversion is an inbuilt mechanism internally or not? Developer is not required to interfere in this particular area. Nice. I think you understood this point effectively. Understand it. You understood this point here. Implicitly, server will do that. So where developer interference is not required in this conversion. Leave this one. Now, everybody understand this point. Next point. Data is available in the form of objects. Data available in the form of objects. Then, after the data is available in objects, no request object, then what is the job of this registration servlet? No. What is the job of this registration servlet? No. Job of the registration servlet is it has to pick the data from request object. The data has to be stored into the database or not. Data has to be taken from request object. The same data has to be stored into the database or not. Now tell me guys, who has to do this work now? Is that servlet is doing automatically that work or developer has to write some logic there where developer interference is required or not? That means data is available in object-oriented data model. Later on the data will be stored into the relational model. That means in the table. That means relational data model. Now tell me who has to convert the data from object-oriented data model to relational data model? Who has to convert the data? Who is storing the data in the database now? Is a developer or not? Developer interference is required or not? A developer activity is required or not to convert the data from object-oriented data model to relational model now? Yeah, registration servlet is responsible for handling requests in the sense whatever the logic we have written inside the registration servlet, that is going to be executed. Means that where developer intention is available or not? Where developer interference is required or not? Where developer code is required or not? Right, sir. That's why here I'm telling to you here, this conversion, here this type of conversion could be done by developer manually, explicitly. Right, sir. Developer must write code to translator to convert data from object-oriented data model to relational data model. Yes, guys, all of you are getting my point now? Now in this overall process, no, two types of conversions here we understood. What are the two types of conversions here we are understanding there? One is conversion from hypertext data model to object-oriented data model. Second one is conversion from object-oriented data model to relational data model. Two conversions are available. Guys, now tell me which conversion is going on automatically and which conversion is going on manually. Now tell me. Which conversion is an automatic and which conversion is manual? Right? First one is an automatic and second one is manual or not? Hypertext data model to object-oriented data model is automatic. Object-oriented data model to relational data model is manual or not? Right, sir. Observe carefully. Observe carefully. So if it is an automatic where we are not going to think about it, definitely it will be effective one. Automatic conversion is an effective one or not? A standardization or not? This is like what the effective one. Effective one. Why? Because this translation is an effective one. Am I right or not? Why? Because this is an effective. Why? Because automatically it is done by a standard protocol, HTTP protocol, or maybe application servers, it is doing that work automatically. It is the standard one. But whenever we are doing manually, where developer has to do explicit, when developer is doing this work in the sense, then what is required mainly? Sync, right? Sync is required between two data models. Then only developer can do this. Sync is required between these two data models or not? Right, sir. Anyway, here what I'm telling to you, sync is required between two data models, then only developer can do that. If sync is not available between these two data models, no, where developer is unable to store the data into the database from the servlets, no, unable to convert the data from object-oriented data model to relational data model, then it is not more effective. It is not more effective. Where developer should require some synchronization is required between these two data models. No. Right. That's why here I'm telling to you guys, observe carefully. What is the conclusion here I'm telling to you? What is the conclusion here I'm telling to you? Try to understand it. In enterprise applications, we may represent data in different data models. Mainly the following two data models we are using explicitly. Mainly we are using two data models. Mainly the following two data models explicitly. Data models, you know, first one is like what there, object oriented data model, and second one is like what there, relational data model. Guys, I'm not going to think much about hypertext data model. Just leave this one. That is not in our context as of now. As we are discussing about hibernate, then that is not in our context. Yes, clear to all of you up to now? Right, sir. In data representations, both the models are having their own, both the data models are having their own conventions to represent the data. Their own conventions are rules and regulations to represent the data. Okay. Here, the difference in conventions, here the difference in conventions, here the difference in conventions of representing data, here the differences in conventions of representing data is called as mismatches between two data models. Instead of saying data models, I want to say like what their paradigms. Mismatches between two data models. They are nothing but what their paradigms. Here, these mismatches, here these paradigm mismatches, the paradigm mismatches will make the data persistence. Will make the data persistence is difficult. Here, these paradigm mismatches will make the data persistence difficult. The persistence difficult in enterprise applications. Yes, sir, got my point or not? Now here almost I'm coming to the conclusion. What conclusion here we are expecting then? What conclusions here we are expecting, guys? Now tell me. The conclusion is very clear. Conclusion is very clear. Now try to understand. In the above context, to achieve data persistence in enterprise applications, To achieve data persistence in enterprise applications, we have to resolve all the paradigm mismatches. We have to resolve all the paradigm mismatches. We have to resolve all the paradigm mismatches. Here, to resolve paradigm mismatches in order to improve data persistence in enterprise applications, we have to use ORM. We have to use what? ORM. All of you understand this? Requirement to go for war. Please, all of you, read this point here, what I am giving here. Without knowing this, understanding is a object relational model. It can be used to map object oriented data elements and relational data elements either through XML document or through annotations. ORM is object relational model. It can be used to map object-oriented data elements and relational data elements either through XML document or through annotations. Understand it, guys? What things here we required here? What mappings here we are expecting there? Object-oriented data model, relational data model. Their mapping should be required between what there? Class to object to record, objects to records or object to record. ID property to primary key column. Next one is normal property to normal column. What mappings here we are expecting there? Mappings between object-oriented data model and relational data model. What mapping here is expecting? No. In general, we are able to get the following matches between mismatch in object oriented data model and relational. In general, we are able to get the following mismatches between object oriented data model and relational data model, and which are solved by hibernate, sorry, ORM, which are solved by whom? There, ORM. That means for which mismatches, in general, which mismatches are available between both the models, and for matches that ORM is able to see provided solution in the mismatches. What are the various mismatches? Granularity mismatch. Second one is associations mismatch. Or before that, one more thing is available: subtypes mismatch. Third one is associations mismatch, and fourth one is identity mismatch, and so on and so on and so on. So many types are available. Everybody understand my point here? What are the various mismatches are available here? First one is like what the granularity mismatch, subtypes mismatch. Then what next one here? Associations mismatch here we are getting. Okay. Now we have to understand at least what is this granularity, how hibernate is providing solution for it. What is subtypes mismatch and how hibernate is providing solution. How association mismatch is available, then how hibernate is providing solution. How identity mismatch is available, then how hibernate is providing solution for it. That all the things here we are able to understand. With this, we are able to get some clarity on ORM. What ORM is giving solution, how the solutions are provided. That all the points here we are able to get clarity. Now we have to start what their granularity mismatch. Granularity mismatch. What is granularity mismatch, guys? What is the meaning of this granularity mismatch? First of all, tell me, guys, what is this granularity mismatch? No, any idea? Granularity mismatch, any idea? First of all, granularity. What is granularity? Okay. Right, sir. As of now, I require granularity of a class, for example. That depends on the context here we can provide, no? Granularity of a class is the number of fields. They're nothing but what they're variables. Number of fields, that is nothing but variables which are existed in a class. Next one is granularity of a table is the number of columns. Number of columns which are existed in a table. Yes, got my point or not? Number of granularity of table is the number of columns which are existed in a table. Guys, all of you are getting this point here? Right. Now, if you want to go for it, then I have to go for some example, guys. Guys, can I discuss that good example about this granularity mismatch tomorrow, the total granularity related content. Can I discuss there? Anyway, it may take minimum half an hour to 45 minutes of time is required here to explain that. So I'd like to take this part on tomorrow. Then tomorrow we'll complete this granularity.